Welcome back, you guys. Today we're gonna go ahead and take a ride and just talk a little bit about Harley Davidson for a moment. As we've been getting into the beginning of a new year, maybe it's just because the new line they're dropping is being a little controversial, or maybe just the pot's been stirred a little more than normal, but I've been noticing on YouTube quite a bit of videos based around Harley Davidson and kind of how they're operating as a business right now and decisions that they've been making with going forward and whatnot. And I'm just really curious what other people think about it too, so I'd really like to hear y'all chime in down there in the comments about this, because Harley Davidson is kind of making some different moves, especially with putting out the new Pan Am and now the Sportster S, killing off the old Sportster in general. I guess they're shutting down plants and stuff like that. You know, just a lot of weird stuff, at least weird for them. And kind of this stigma behind what it is to be a Harley rider nowadays. Because if it's one thing that's definitely apparent when it comes to talking about Harley Davidson and their riders is that majority of the time you're talking about an older person. And I believe Harley's now trying to get to the point where they're bringing in some newer riders, or at least somebody who's a little younger than their main demographic. But they still have yet to really put out any starter bikes or anything that's going to be worth beginning on, price wise at least. A lot of their bikes, you could argue you could learn on pretty much any bike, you know, as long as you kind of have respect for it. But they don't really have anything that's aimed at gaining a newer rider. They're trying to bring in new riders, but not a new rider. But I think that's kind of where some of it kind of lays at with that whole stigma, because when you talk to a younger generation about it, a lot of them, I guess, don't want to be associated with Harley just because of the people who ride them, which doesn't make no sense to me. I guess there's a bit of a stigma, which does make sense, because back in the day they did run a whole like campaign, I guess, Honda and the nicest people drive a Honda, or you meet the nicest people on a Honda thing. And that marketing actually worked really well for Honda, and it worked really well for Harley Davidson to switch over and kind of run the opposite. And they've gained this name for like ruffians and outlaws and people who just ain't generally doing anything good. Man, it is windy out here today. But in today's culture, it is just not a thing, you know. A lot has changed with the times, and the ability to get away with shit like you used to back then has completely changed. Now everybody carries a fucking phone in their pocket that has a camera and the ability to catch you doing pretty much anything bad. There's cameras everywhere around. You're almost always on camera. And in some places where you live, I mean, they have CCTV, and hey, you're always on camera in places like that. So the ability to just get away with bullshit like you used to is not the same. You know, like realistically, you can't live that kind of lifestyle. Not the same as you used to, at least. But I don't think like Harley people are trying to live like that lifestyle anyways. I think that's more of just a marketing thing they had going on. But it's not serving them well in today's market at all. Like, most people now just think of an older generation, like, it seems like the bikes have been dragged by the time, behind on time. And a lot of their big events have become less about the bikes and more about their culture too, which I think is not a very good decision, because you're a motorcycle company, not a culture company. I mean, I get you have heritage at this point, but if you don't focus on the thing that made you, you're just gonna fall off to the wayside for people who do focus on that thing. Take, for instance, Indian right now. They're really working on bringing themselves back. And some of their new bikes do look really good. I mean, honestly. I just personally went with a Harley. I don't know why, but whenever I first got a motorcycle, a Harley was what I wanted. But after owning one, it's just another motorcycle in all reality. So it's not like it really bothers me like it used to. But there's a lot of people nowadays who don't care about it if it's a Harley or not. I mean, a lot of people will just tell you nowadays to just ride what you can ride, because it's no longer about a brand thing. We're not going through these crazy times where it's patriotic to drive a Harley or anything like that. And so with that, paired with just the acceptance of, hell, even all that shit from across seas, you know, while it was back in the day, it was mainly cool to drive a Harley because they were going through a wartime and you didn't want to buy a Jap bike. I mean, those were the people I guess we was having problems with, you know, so it makes sense. But I do think that the biggest differences with new people nowadays and whatnot is that they don't care about that Harley image, you know. They are looking for stuff that's cheap, a good deal, that's efficient, you know, reliable, stuff like that. And you get that with these Jap bikes. You know, my first bike was a C50T, and if I didn't have it in my head that I just really wanted a Harley, I would have never got rid of that bike. In all reality, looking back on it now, it was just a little too slow for me. I wanted something with a little more get up. Like, I felt like a minivan could pass me if it really tried. And it probably could with some of these newer minivans, because the bike really didn't want to go much over 90. It just didn't even feel good at that speed. But those are kind of just my general thoughts. Like I said, I'd like to hear back from y'all in the comments. I'm interested to hear what other people think and the whole, you know, subject as a whole there, because it's really interesting. And I think Harley's changing right now, and if they take advantage of it and they just keep rolling in the right direction, it should serve them pretty well. But I guess only time will tell on that one. You guys like, comment, subscribe. I hope to see y'all back again.